Howdy Spacers, and welcome back to Blank Space Dolls, and happy holidays. It's been a while, I know, but as I'm sure we all know, it's been quite a year for sure. But what better way to end and restart a new year but doing something that brings you joy? And in my case, that's getting back to my customizing journey to share with all of you. Thanks for all the patience and kind comments over this time. Now let's get to the video collaboration. The theme we decided on this year is Holiday Extravaganza, inspired by the Holiday Barbies. Taking part in this collaboration with me are Insanely Creating, StephooDolls, ICANDOTHATDIY, Electric Bunny, and Dollyana, with honorable mentions of Keto's Workshop, Blurred Colors Art, Feral Dolls, and HLE Crafts, so stay on the lookout for their dolls as well. But let's go ahead and check out my Holiday Eleganza looks and inspiration. Some of my favorite gowns to look at are the mermaid style gowns by Barbie, and normally Holiday Barbies are styled in ball gowns, which are my favorite to make. So I thought let's go with that and make something not normally associated with Holiday Barbie, but a silhouette that's still associated with her. All of which I own as a collector of this style on screen now. 19s, 20s inspired details and hair, and of course in retro and vintage Barbie style, lots of accessories. I'm using a special doll base for this one, so stay tuned to the end to see how she turns out. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more new customs to come. Now let's get started. Beginning with the outfit this time, I'm going to make a basic dress pattern using the masking tape method, and I cut one front and one back in fabric to use as a pattern in the future. Then I'm going to start by lengthening the dress pattern to make it a mermaid style with less seams, that way I can cut it on the fold. Same to the back, but I'm actually going to taper to be a longer length at the center back seam to prep for the gusset insert later. Of course, go in and clean up my lines and cut. And here's an example of what happens when you don't actually measure the length, but that's okay, I can go in and clean that up with my French curve like this. Now these will be your final pattern pieces. You can see here that they have that mermaid style, and the way that it's seamed will mean that there will only be a center back seam and then the two side seams, which is really exciting, and you'll see why that's important in just a second. You guys already knew it was coming. I am indeed using this beautiful green embroidered sequin fabric, hence why the less seams the better, because as you know, as you scale down, the less seams the better, because they do bulk up quite quickly. So that's why I wanted to use minimal pattern pieces, so that way I could get the most out of the fabric. And then you're just going to take those pattern pieces and cut it out of your sequin fabric. Then using the solid selvage edge I cut off, I cut just the original dress patterns for the lining. You want to attach the front and back pieces together at the shoulder seam for the lining and the fashion or sequin fabric separately. Please ignore that I cut the front lining not on the fold, so ignore that if you're going to try this on your own. And then of course you want to go ahead and place the lining and the sequin fabric good side to good side and sew around that neck opening to create the actual lining. And I do go in here and add in a triangular gusset at the center back seam. Then you want to go ahead and sew up the side seams, and that's going to include your fashion fabric and your lining together. And what that's going to do is fully line your dress, and you want to make sure that you insert the gusset prior to sewing up the side seams, so you only have to flip the garment with the sequins inside out once. Just a pro tip for you guys. And now I pop her onto my model base just to see how it's fitting, and it's looking pretty good. You can see where I have it clipped, and that's just going to give me where I need to put the closures on. But I was originally going to use the scalloped edge of the actual sequin fabric, but then I decided I wanted to use this beautiful wedding veil fabric that I've had in my stash for, I would say, at least 4 years. So I'm excited to finally be able to use it, and there's a ton of it, so yes, let's go. I went back and forth on how I wanted to have a closure at the back, but I actually decided instead of fussing around with small eyelets, I could just use this lace and use the actual openings in the lace to lace it all the way down, and I do have it plunging, and left these extra tabs just so that way I could sew it really nicely by hand. And once that back is attached, I go ahead and start adding the lace trim to the bottom of the gown as well, using the original scallop trim as a guideline just to help me follow, but then making sure that I'm really tightening around those corners to make it a smooth corner instead of it being really sharp the way that it shows here. Due to the nature of the fabric and trim that I chose, I did have to go in and hand sew all the way around the perimeter of the base of this gown, but that was okay. It was totally worth it because it's so beautiful, and I'm just glad that I'm able to use this trim finally, although on these scales I'm probably going to have enough of this trim for quite a few customs to come, so stay on the lookout for it later. Now that that's out of the way, we can go ahead and start the actual embellishing, and I'm going to be using these flat back pearls to just add additional accents around the gown. I start by taking these clear seed beads and these iridescent white bugle beads and doing this like drape sleeve detail. Then using those flat back pearls, starting at the base of the gown with the larger ones and gradiating all the way up towards her neck with the really small ones. And here you see my set supervisor checking in on me to make sure that I'm not using all of my actual materials on this one project. Giving that triangular gusset portion that we inserted to the center back seam the same treatment as I did with the sleeves, with just a draping action going across. Now it's face up time. Of course, I want to show you guys my new little pencil setup. I'm so excited and feel so organized, but I'm going to start by priming the face using the Rustoleum Flat Red Primer Spray Paint and MSC Flat Sealant. Starting with the initial blushing using my Jane Davenport Lit Up Palette Pastel, using oranges versus pinks to make sure that I accentuate the skin tones. One of the best ways, and in my opinion one of the easiest ways to approach any character of color, is by researching makeup tutorials by POC creators. It's really simple and really easy. They'll break down the undertones and what color you should use for blushing and what makes the best highlighter color. Normally oranges, bronzes, and golds look a little bit better, but that's just my personal opinion. There are people who are exceptions to this, and there are many ways to do makeup, so there's no right and wrong way, but I have found that myself focusing on the highlighting of the deeper skin tone versus the contouring actually gives me a better result instead of trying to deepen anything the way that you would approach maybe a mid-tone or a lighter skin tone. For darker ones, focusing on that highlighting is immediately going to make it look more contoured without going any darker. So just a pro tip for you guys from myself through my experience. Continuing to build the color until it won't anymore, sealing it to save your progress, and then continuing to build that color as well. For the whites of the eyes, always using my General's Pastel Chalk Pencil. For the liner this time, I wanted to try out the Golden Fluid Acrylics in Carbon Black. The only thing that's a little odd is it does dry a little bit shiny, but once you hit that with Mr. Super Clear, that shine does go away, and I actually do find that it's a little bit easier to use this than acrylics. You have a little bit more working time, but it still dries like a normal acrylic. And because I was again inspired by the 1920s, I went in with some chunky eyelashes for the bottom lashes. I really need to practice on this a little bit better, so we're gonna say that it was on purpose, which it kind of was, but I don't think I wanted them to be this chunky, but we're just gonna go with it. And by the time I add the shadow underneath to kind of blow it out a little bit, I think it'll be fine. Eyebrows are another thing that continue to be my arch nemesis, and I'm really trying, you guys, but yeah, we're eventually gonna get there, and they look decent, but they're not where I want them 100%, but I still kept it in the video to show you guys kind of my process. So sketching out in lighter colors, using white to accent, and then going over and blending with more black pastels over the top of it to fade it a little bit more. You all will see here that I am actually doing the face up upside down. This does allow you to see asymmetry a little bit better, especially in the eyebrows and the eyes. And you can also use a mirror by looking at the doll's face in the mirror, and that will give you the same results. You can see here what those pigments look like after they've been sealed. And once I'm happy with the face contouring and highlighting, I move on to the iris portion of the eye, starting with my black umber watercolor pencil by Spectrum Aquablend. And then going in with Mango, in combination with a little bit of black to add shading and contrast to the irises. And then using Derwent watercolor in mineral green to round out the eye color. Then you seal it one final time and add the eye shines, and then now we can add the lashes. She's starting to look like a person. You guys, how glamorous does she look? Ah! I've also been trying out UV top coat for the gloss, and I don't really know if I'm a fan. I always have a problem, and this could be a user error on my part, but I always have an issue with flooding the inner lip line, and then the lips just have no definition, and I kind of did it on this one, so I tried to save it, and I don't really know if I did. So for future, I will be going back to my Tamiya acrylic clear gloss, and we'll give UV top coat another shot a different day on a different project, and not on lips. Now for some hair to match my 1920s glam vibe, finger waves were a must. Since this was my first attempt at a hard front, hard cap wig, I turned to another BJD artist that I love, Amelia from Inomorata. She has an amazing wig tutorial, which I'll be sure to link in the description below. It's so good, you guys. And obviously this wig is made of hot glue, black acrylic yarn brushed out, water, and a ton of hairspray. In case you guys didn't notice what's missing, yeah, completely forgot about the part, and I painted the whole wig cap black, so rookie mistake. I should have just had a brown wig cap and made a better part, but I was able to paint it back in and no one would even know, so make it work. And I wanted to make some matching fascinators for each side of the head, so you'll see here I'm just adding hot glue directly to the hair, and I cut out pieces of the scallop trim that I put on the base of the gown and use that to make little hair pieces. Once those appliques are on, I'll go in and embellish it further with the flat back pearls that I used on the gown as well. And then I wanted to make her some matching earrings, just using some random beads in my bead box. And you can see here it's a combination of like teardrop pearls, crystal, and clear seed beads. And some really simple, easy T-strap shoes. Now I know you're all wondering, what face mold is this? What body is this pattern fit to? Wait, why are those pieces different colors? Not another BJD. Or yes, another BJD. Is this a BJD? Again, why are the pieces different colors? I'm confused. All valid questions, with one simple answer. She's a BJD of my creation, from digital sculpting to 3D printing about 25 to 30 samples of the same exact parts, making small tweaks to make sure everything fits together, the sanding, the priming, and now the customizing to share with all of you. Introducing Odette Blanc, a fashion-inspired ball-jointed doll with beginner-friendly artists in mind. She's in her final prototyping phase, but I'm so excited to be able to use my own doll as a base, like mind-blowing to me. Stay tuned to not miss any of the future Blanc family announcements, featuring Olivia, Oliver, and Odie, but let's stay focused on Odette for now. Seeing the body and face all primed in the same color is like an out-of-body experience. I'm so excited. Obviously, I've had prototypes before, but seeing it on camera is definitely like resonating differently with me, so I'm so excited to share her with you guys. Now let's try on her wig to see how it looks. Now before we get her dressed and show the final photos, let's have a posing break. She's having her Rose from the Titanic moment. We're posing her like one of Jack's French girls. I just thought about that as I'm editing, so I'm keeping it in. But with that being said, let's take a look at the final photos. We made it! Through this project, through the video, and through this year. I'm honestly most excited the year's over. Once again, I want to say thank you to all of you here watching and supporting the work I do, when I decide to do it, of course. Let me know what you think of Odette below, and also, do you have a favorite holiday Barbie? Who is she? I want to know. Let me know that down below as well. Remember, going into the next year, if you want to do the thing, whatever it is. Starting is easy, continuing is hard. Maybe you, like me, needed to hear that. Once again, happy holidays, and don't forget to check out my friends' videos too, and let them know I sent you in their comment section. And be sure you don't miss any of my future content by clicking that subscribe button below. You can also be sure to follow me on Instagram at @BlankSpaceDolls, where in my world there's always a blank space. Let's customize it together. Until next time, Spacers, see you soon. Apparently, every airplane known to man wants to fly over while I'm recording this voiceover.